Let's return to one of our top stories. At least one Palestinian has been killed after Israeli settlers attacked a village in the occupied West Bank. The Israeli government has condemned the attack, which comes on day 2 of negotiations in Doha, aimed at securing a ceasefire and the release of hostages. Well, joining us now from Tel Aviv is Yossi Beilin, a former minister in the Israeli government who was a negotiator in the Oslo Accords. We really appreciate you sharing your time with us. Thank you. In the last hour or so, we're hearing reports that the Israeli delegation is leaving Doha and heading back. What should we infer from that?
Well, it is Saturday, and it was intended in advance to end by the beginning of Saturday. So they went back. I don't think that this is an indication. Another point is that, as far as I saw it already, there is a commitment of the parties to resume the negotiations in a week from now. And this is something that I don't understand. If there is no explosion of the talks and they continue on the basis of the President Biden's plan from some months ago, why should they waste time? I mean, they should not go to sleep and work day and night in order to achieve a ceasefire, a release of the hostages, and continue according to the Biden's stages. So I'm glad that the talks will go on, but it's difficult for me to understand why should they waste the whole week.
Talk to me, if you will, about what your advice would be to the various parties. You have been in this position before of trying to bring consensus and bring about terms of an agreement. What do they need to do? What do they need to give to be able to reach the terms of a ceasefire and a hostage release?
In my view, just to say that they accept the Biden's plan and to sign it or whatever they do and implement it immediately. Which means that for the first stage is a full end of the war or ceasefire, and the release of part of the hostages, and then see or negotiate towards the second step. They don't have to invent the wheel right now. They have the plan, and they allegedly already received it. So I think that they should not renege on their acceptance and go forward with the plan.
These negotiations are taking place. Meanwhile, in the West Bank, we're seeing this violence between settlers and Palestinians there. We're also seeing very hardline public statements from people like Itamar Ben-Gvir, the National Security Minister. How do you think this plays into the negotiations and the wider conversation? There's huge amounts of pressure on the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, from some of the right-wing elements of his government.
Well, it doesn't contribute to anything, and renouncing it and denouncing it is not enough. I mean, on our side, on the Israeli side, there should be a real operation of the army to find out who are those dozens of youngsters who planned and implemented their plan to kill and burn the village, the Palestinian village. Most of its land is on Zone C, which is under the security and civil responsibility of Israel. So we are responsible, and we cannot just write a kind of a reaction to it and to denounce it. Everybody would denounce it. The question is, what are you doing in order that such a crazy event will not take place? And mentioning Ben-Gvir and his friends, it was Netanyahu who decided a year and a half ago to include the Smotrich and Ben-Gvir in his government. He promised not to do that before. He breached his promise. And he knew exactly who was he joining with. He has to tell these people to leave his government. Israel cannot afford it to have such extreme rightists, almost lunatics, leading it.
Whilst we're talking, we're just hearing from a source with direct knowledge of the talks that are ongoing in Doha. They've told Sky News that they are, I quote, cautiously optimistic a deal can be reached. What's your reaction to that?
I want to believe that this is the truth, and I want to join them. It's a due time to end this war, and I hope that it will be conducive to that. We cannot wait too long.
Yossi Beilin, really appreciate you sharing your time with us here on Sky News. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.